On July 9th, 2016, Alva Braziel was gunned down by HPD Sergeants Luis Lopez and Edward Macias. The official stance on the sequence of events remains that Mr. Braziel pointed a gun at officers, prompting them to open fire. Video footage released from a nearby security camera is unclear, but it certainly doesn't support that claim. Conveniently, the police vehicle didn't have a dash cam, nor were the officers' body cameras turned on until after Mr. Braziel was already gunned down. 13 seconds is all it took for officers to decide that Mr. Braziel presented enough of a threat that he deserved to have his life taken. This is an exchange we know all too well, and it must end. Now, obviously, I'm not a police officer. I can't speak to the difficulty of having to make literal life and death decisions at a moment's notice, but all I feel as a citizen is that the latter seems to be disproportionately levied against people of color. And for what other reason than a very real prejudice, a subconscious and even sometimes overt racism on the part of this institution that's supposed to protect and serve its people, not kill them. Black people are being murdered by those who claim to help them, and many white people still wonder why mistrust is so prevalent. Probably because when a white person like Keith Swanson decides to shoot a police, he is met with a SWAT team who patiently negotiates with him and arrests him injury-free. So why wasn't this same consideration given to Mr. Braziel? Because the criminal justice system is plagued by racism, it has never not been plagued by racism, and it's time to admit that. It's time to admit that police are not perfect, and that admitting fault is the first step in a long uphill battle to rid the criminal justice system of its racist underpinnings. It's time for HPD to admit that they murdered this man. They made a fatal mistake that requires justice. Accountability shouldn't be something that people must demand from the institutions that claim to protect them, yet here we are. The police are supposed to protect and serve, not punish and enslave. Our mayor is supposed to represent people, listen to them, and fight for them, and instead he lies to them. And we're expected to accept it. After months of refusing to release video footage, after explicitly stating that the case should be taken to the federal court only to never attempt to do so, after effectively trying to sweep this under the rug, I stand here to say that we do not accept. The people of Houston will not stand blithely by and watch as our institutions unjustly murder civilians and walk away unscathed. We demand Luis Lopez and Edward Macias be charged with murder. We demand that Mayor Turner resign. We demand accountability. We demand that HPD and Mayor Turner show that they respect the people whom they are charged to protect and serve. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ms. Snyder, to be followed by Ms. Hannah
Thank you very much.
Ballenberg.
My name is Rachel Schneider. I am from District C, and I am here to ask the Mayor and City Council to follow through on promises to investigate the murder of Alva Braziel by Houston Police Department Sergeants Luis Lopez and Edward Macias. On July 9th, 2016, as many people have already shared, Alva Braziel was shot 16 times, we now know, with his hands in the air screaming, "Don't shoot." On the same day that he was murdered, Keith Swanson, a middle-aged white man, had a shootout with HPD, and a SWAT team came and negotiated with him, and he left from that altercation without injury. The ongoing brutal treatment of African Americans by the Houston Police Department is unacceptable. Equally unacceptable is that the grieving family and friends of Alva Braziel remain in the dark about the status of the investigation or criminal proceedings in relation to the murder. It has been almost a year since Alva was killed, and there has been no meaningful public discussion on his death by the city or any further outlining of the action steps being taken by the city to investigate and ensure that more African Americans are not killed brutally in similar circumstances. This, again, is unacceptable. As a resident who is deeply concerned with racial bias and excessive use of force in policing, which we know disproportionately impacts Black Americans both in Houston and nationally, I am here to ask Mayor Turner to take decisive action in order to prove his commitment to making Houston a safe place for African Americans specifically. Mayor Turner, please publicly apologize to the family of Alva Braziel and use whatever means are at your disposal to open an investigation into the shooting. I ask that the officers be charged with murder and that the city be open and transparent about actions being taken to hold the officers and HPD more broadly accountable. And finally, as a sign of good faith, I ask that the street where Alva Braziel was murdered, Colin and Ward, be renamed.
Please take her out now. Officers, take her out now and keep her out. You are banned from coming here again. Okay? Please finish your comments.
Yes, so I'm asking for justice. I think that this has been a matter that has taken far too long to get clarity and resolution on, and as you can see, there are many people who are grieving and suffering still as the result of a lack of transparency and information on this matter. So I hope that the street can be renamed in honor of Alva Braziel as a sign of good faith. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Fallenberg. Ms. Hannah Fallenberg, to be followed by Ms. Benita Juarez.
Thank you, Mayor Turner, members of the City Council. My name is Hannah Fallenberg. I'm a resident of District I, and as an organizer for reproductive justice, I've testified before on the importance of addressing all forms of oppression that prevent people from exercising their right to maintain bodily autonomy, to have or not have children on their own terms, and to live and raise families in safe, healthy communities. So I'm here today to urge you to live out your values. Several of you I know are pro-choice and have been champions for reproductive freedom, and for that I applaud you. You obviously care about people's dignity and their right to make their own decisions concerning their reproductive health. So certainly you also care about the dignity of homeless folks struggling to keep their head above water and care about their ability to provide a modicum of safety for themselves when there are no options available. HUD has frozen its voucher program, shelters are turning folks away, no affordable housing. Certainly you care about that. For those on the pro-life side of that false dichotomy, whose life? What kind of life? Can we use the City Council's influence to call for answers for Alva Braziel's family? Alva Braziel, who was killed 10 months ago and whose 9 grieving children and wife still don't know what happened, even though empty promises were made to call for a federal investigation. So whatever your values, as far as pro-choice, pro-life, that's not a single issue designation. So know that there's an entire movement watching, holding you accountable and ready to support all efforts to actually live out these values and shake things up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.